Ever wish you had someone to talk to anytime, anywhere, no matter what you're going through? Meet PsychPal, your 24/7 AI companion designed to help you process your thoughts, calm your mind, and keep you moving forward. Chat anytime during a panic attack, on a restless night, or just when you need to vent. Prefer talking instead of typing? Try voice journaling. PsychPal listens, transcribes, and truly understands. You can even upload screenshots of tough conversations, and it'll help you unpack how they made you feel. PsychPal keeps life organized too. It can add appointments to your calendar, track your mood, and even summarize your sessions for your therapist so you'll never lose progress. Plus, built in crisis resources are always just one click away. It's a privacy first, constantly evolving, made to complement your professional care, not replace it. Ready to try it out? Head over to the link in this episode and use my code Pete at checkout to get 20% off your first month subscription to PsychPal. PsychPal, because your mind deserves a companion too.
That's all you want last time. I don't want to be normal, you know I will not die. You can try no more, just so you can heal my try. All the times that I'm sober, still got my pedal through the metal. Told you I'll be a local, that's all you want last time. I don't want to be normal, so you can stay inside. That's why they say that you're local, you see this world is mine. I'm not even your hope for them time, I'm taking mode, I'm loading. I will show them one more, so that's how you one last time. I don't know what's so hard, can you get it through your mind?
Welcome to another exciting episode of Pete for Anxiety. My guest today, she is the host of the Lights Out Narcissistic Podcast, the one, the only Saige Whitney. Saige, welcome in. Why don't you say hello to everybody?
So my show, a Lights Out Narcissistic Podcast, I compare my relationship with my ex-girlfriend to the demon Diana in the horror movie Lights Out.
Jesus. Oh my God. Okay, all right. You know, I did read a little bit about having to do the movie Lights Out, and I was like, okay, that was a fucking crazy movie. Like, let's be honest. Anybody has not seen that movie, you gotta go watch that movie. It is intense, especially the ending of it. It's just crazy. I was like, bro, so I just think that's hilarious the way you described that. But Jesus. All right, well, why don't we dig into this thing though? So how did you guys originally meet?
2 years ago, I was an activity director working at a skilled nursing facility, which for those who don't know what that is, it's like a elderly folks home with the intent of people rehabilitating themselves through occupational therapy and physical therapy. And so these people go, and it's a long-term care. So they live there, they receive those therapies to hopefully leave and go back to their houses. Some people are too old, so they need to stay there probably for the rest of their lives. There are some recovering addicts. It was kind of a sketchy facility, I'm going to be honest. There was some really interesting things going on there. And she was a patient, and I met her, and within 2 weeks of knowing her, and we were just friends, she asked me to marry her. And I remember just feeling so chosen, and like I was never going to get married. And there was definitely self-esteem to play of just like, no one's going to want me, like this is my only chance. And so I said yes, which looking back now, that is like such a red flag and very worrisome. Why is a stranger?
Yeah. No, but how old were you? Just give us a
24.
little context. Okay, so you're 24 and she's 22 at this time. Okay, I'm just trying to get a better context of what situation we're in. Okay, we've all done dumb things as younger, so that's all right. It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just shows a lot of where I was mentally, self-esteem wise, like for me to say yes to that text of, will you marry me?
Yeah.
So, and it really was like, no one's going to love me. This is my chance. This is my shot. Feeling so chosen. Now looking back, of course, I would say no to that. But, that was the consciousness I was at that time. And so there's sympathy for myself, and there's also like, a lot of grief from what ends up happening. So I thought we would stay friends until she left the facility, because she's young and she can get better. So she wasn't going to stay there a long time. Like, she just had lupus, but she told people other stories that I'll get into later. But instead of her holding back, she immediately told everybody. So I had to go to management and I just talked to them and I said, hey, this girl says that she's dying and she's scared and she's alone. And she asked me to marry her. And I'm not here to keep secrets with you guys. Like, please tell me what to do. And they said, yeah, this is a weird situation. We're going to put you on a paid leave and do an investigation. And I said, that sounds fine. So I went on a paid leave. And in that time, they had fast tracked kicking her out of the facility because she had hit on almost, and I didn't know this, of course. This is a year later. I'm finding these things out about what she did in that facility, but she had problems with every single CNA and she had hit on multiple male nurses and asked them to have sex with her. I didn't know any of this, of course. But so that was interesting. The day she asked me to marry her and I said yes, there was this really nice CNA that came over to me and said, hey, Saige, I heard about what's going on and I need you to know that the other day, a gay CNA man in her room and she accused him of raping her. So I just need you to watch out for that. And I went, and this was what was so interesting is I went and I confronted her about that situation. And I was ready for her to blow up and be mad and how dare you, accuse me of lying or anything of that. And she just said, oh, well, I black out a lot. I'm on a lot of opioids. Sometimes I feel like a lot of people are touching me. So I might have said that. And that was a very interesting reaction for me. Because I feel
That's
like,
just a very interesting reaction. Based on that alone, it's like, wait, what?
yeah, I thought she was going to freak out, get mad, how dare you accuse me of that, all this stuff. No, it was just like a calm demeanor. And I guess that was the validation I needed to be like, yeah, opioids do really kind of mess up the brain sometimes. And I've seen it. I've been a CNA for 5 years. So I've seen what opioids can do to the brain. So that alone was just very interesting. So she ended up getting kicked out. And there was like 2 weeks there where we were engaged per se. And then I wanted to take a break and just have her be my girlfriend for a week because my nervous system was freaking out. And she said, okay. And in that week, I find out a year later that she had sex with a man in the facility. And the CNA I talked to a year later said she walked in on them.
This story just gets more into by the minute.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another thing. She also told me she was asexual. So that's even better. So she told me, I don't let anyone touch me. You're so lucky I let you hold my hand. And I'm not here to deem people on what their sexuality is, but if you don't want to touch another woman, but you have sex behind their back while you're dating, it sounds like you really just want a female friendship and you're straight.
Right. I mean, it's what it sounds like. I mean, but it's like she's a master manipulator at this point. She's manipulating everybody around her. Clearly, she's getting away with it because nobody's really seeing the stories. And then all these things started coming out that you started finding out a year later that all these things started happening. And this is just wild. Like, I mean, I've heard some pretty crazy stories recording this show, but this one's starting to become coming up in the top 3 now because this is getting interesting. So take us to
we're just at the top of the iceberg. We're just at the tip.
All right. Let's get into this thing more. Okay. What else you got for me? Because this is just getting more interesting by the minute.
Yeah. There's a reason I'm sharing this story with you today and why I started a podcast after this, teaching people how to say no and recognize red flags of female narcissists. That's what my podcast is. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just the beginning. A year later, also, I figured out she was an opioid addict.
Oh, okay.
So she would, while we were together, she would intentionally hit her head and self-harm and hurt herself. So I would drive her to the ER and she could get opioids.
Oh, no, and you didn't notice the pattern of her doing that?
That is what's so interesting. So there was, she told me she was dying, had cancer, kidney failure, and gastroparesis, which is a paralysis of the stomach. She did have a feeding tube. So, and so I believed her. She had this bag of pills that she took around with her, and she was in a nursing home. So I really did think she was dying at the time.
Yeah.
So she would tell me I slipped in the shower and I fell. She also told me she had POTS, which is very interesting too. And I slipped in the shower, I fell, I need to go to the hospital. You know, I she was just such a good actor. She'd be like, I'm in so much pain, I need to go to the hospital. And there did come a time where my nurse friend was with us. We all went out to Olive Garden. So it was me and my podcast. Her name is Asia. So,
Mhm.
and because of HIPAA, that will always be her name because I cannot tell you her real name.
No, I get that
So,
completely.
yeah, for sure. So, Asia ate a whole Olive Garden meal. And, like, for someone with gastroparesis, they normally can barely have any food. Like, their food goes into their stomach, they're throwing it back up, or their stomach's paralyzed, so it's trying to move down the intestinal tract, and it's damned. It's like, it's slow and it's painful, and none of that happened. Like, she ate a whole meal, and then after Olive Garden, we were walking through the mall, and I had a pizza job at this time, so I was wearing a pizza uniform, and my friends were making fun of me, so I was like, okay, let me go buy a shirt so I don't have to wear this through the mall. So I went to H&M, I bought this cute shirt, and she was just standing there, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna go throw up now. And it just was so weird because when I'm about to throw up, my face goes white, I'm sick, I'm walking slow, I look crappy. She just was like, it was just like normal, just like, I'm gonna go throw up now. And I
Yeah.
told her, I said, sweet, I'll come with you to the bathroom. I need to go change my shirt and I can like hold your hair back or whatever. And she's like, no, don't you dare come into the bathroom with me. Like, that is so
Ooh,
creepy,
okay.
Saige, you know? And that's when I was like, you're not going to throw up. This is just an act. Like, there was things like that,
Yeah,
but she
things you start
played the
noticing after.
part so well. Yeah. So there were things, and my friend told me a person with gastroparesis should generally should not be able to eat an entire Olive Garden meal from her experience with patients. So there was this pattern of, like, she did play the part very well
Yeah,
of
a lot of
doing
them
these
do.
things. Yeah, right. And so there's just so many times. The biggest story I tell people is, oh, this is so crazy. So I had liked this woman when I lived in southern Utah. And then for mental health reasons, I moved back in with my parents in northern Utah.
Mhm.
And I went through intensive therapy, and that's when I met Asia. I was still going through therapy. So I was pretty vulnerable for sure. And narcissistic women and men for sure, they target people like me. Low self-esteem, vulnerable, won't question their crap, kind of afraid of them. They know
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Easily
So
manipulated, yeah, all
I
those
was,
type of
yeah,
things. Yeah, it's in the narcissists that they look for.
yeah, yeah. That's They know what they're doing. They're extremely smart people.
Mhm.
And so I had liked this woman, and in my podcast, her name is Q, in southern Utah. And even when Asia proposed to me, we were together for, I think it was only a month. I don't even know. and I never touched her. We never really did much. I think we pecked a few times, but she had told me that while I was sleeping, I was calling out this woman's name in my sleep, and that she had to one night give me a teddy bear to comfort me. I don't know if any of this is true, but at one time while I was sleeping in the hospital with her, because I'd be in the hospital with her like once a week and just sleep on the ground, she looked over at me while this nurse was giving her an IV and had woken me up from my sleep. And she's like, "Who is Q?" And I just was like, "How do you know?" She's like, "You call out her name." We don't know if any of that's true. Maybe I did once, and I told her, I said, "She's the woman I'm in love with, but she doesn't love me back. Like, I don't, and I just can't get over her." So it's just kind of, she's always going to kind of be there in my psyche, in my mind. And so she was really mad about that. She's like, "Why don't you love me?" And I'm like, "I don't even know you. Like, this is kind of a transactional, I'm with you. I kind of had a hero complex at the time. Like, I'm here to take care of you till you die. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the hero, whatever." And I teach people my podcast, don't save people. Like, it's their job to fix their life. Don't go and save people. Like, work on your own life. We don't need to take on people's trauma. And did this person even want to get better? Like, my biggest thing in that relationship was, "Oh, I'm going to heal you," you know? And she didn't want to be healed. She liked being
Yeah.
sick.
She's an
And
addict.
she
She doesn't even want help. She's an addict, didn't want to, and if addicts don't want help, you can't help them though, and that's the hardest part is that I think a lot of people seem to forget they try and force people to go into recovery. And it's like, you can't force these individuals to go into recovery. If they want to recover, they'll recover. If they don't want to, then they're not going to do it because they're choosing not to do it because they don't want to. You can't force these individuals to do that. And it's tough. It's hard at times. You gotta
It
watch
is.
them self-destruct sometimes, and that's the hardest part is just watching them hit rock bottom, whatever that rock bottom is for them, and that's the hardest part about it, though.
It is. It's and I didn't know she was an addict. I really just thought she was dying, blah blah blah. But looking back, it was
Mhm.
all the signs of an addict of, every time we'd go to the hospital, "Sage, I need my meds. I need pills. I'm in pain. I'm in pain. I'm in pain."
Yeah, same.
Um and the nurse would come in, "No, you can't have any." What? Like, "Sage, go out there and convince her otherwise. Like, go, I want to speak to the doctor." Like, just, and looking back now, it's like, whoa. But when you're in the thick of it, you just think they are in pain, they are dying, they do have cancer, all that stuff. When all she had was
Well,
lupus and an iron deficiency. That was it.
we also have to remember, though, you're 24 at the time. You don't know a lot of things that you know now, going through a lot of these experiences, and a lot of people don't know that, don't know what signs to look for, like that kind of stuff, the aggressive behavior, go make them give me some pills. And it's like, no, because they keep track of those things. Because my ex wife was like that. She's an ex pill addict. And then she would go, because she had, I can't think what it was called, though, but she had like something right behind her ear. They had to take out a piece of her skull right there because she had a really bad infection in there, and she was going because she was in a lot of pain. So she's like, "Well, I got to be careful because they're going to blacklist me and say that I'm just looking for pills." When she really isn't. She really wasn't. Because I was the one that monitored all her pain medications. Whenever she got it, was a new experience to me because I didn't even know when me and her were together. She early on she was still doing pills because until she got picked up by the cops. And then they found a straw in her bra and things like that, things that she would use to do them. It's always weird to me because she always snorts her pills. They never took them normally unless she had to, unless they forced her to. But it was one of those weird habits that she'd go through. She was on the other side of it though, because she would tell me though, like, hey, one time she slipped up with her and a friend, and they had like only a couple pills, but she came and told me about it and thought I was gonna be mad. I'm like, why? Why am I gonna be mad? I mean, you at least admit it to doing this. It's gonna happen in addiction. People in addiction, they tend to make mistakes like that. It's gonna happen. My buddy Jay runs a podcast. I do a lot of hanging out with him and stuff, so I learn a lot of stuff about recovery and things like that too. So it was interesting to see some of the signs and things that I avoided missed too. That she was under a constant state. And we and her, we got together pretty quick, and we got married within a year. and things like that too. And then later on, it just like we just started going our own separate ways essentially because she wanted me to be somebody I'm not, but she was an ex-pill addict. She was an alcoholic and things like that too, and it's the same thing with alcohol. Like you can't stop these individuals unless they want to stop, and it's a vicious cycle to go through because like every time she drink enough, she turned into a whole nother person and then they turn verbally abusive and things like that too. So, there's some pretty wild ass moments where especially we had a PTSD moment where she fucking just went nuts and I had to fight her off basically. So all the sides are there. It's just, you just didn't know what to look for until you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know until you know. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And now I do know, right? The
Yeah.
signs. And yeah, that's hard. I'm so glad her and I never got married. I'm so glad her and I never had sex. And
Because you don't
because
know what
after this
she could have caught from
experience,
these other individuals,
oh yeah,
especially
yeah,
that because you don't know,
there's
especially
so many
mixing
stories.
around, messing around other people. Ugh. Yeah, you don't get something Ajax can't take
Yeah,
off, as they
telling
always
me
say.
she hates sex. Yeah, like that was definitely God protecting me.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'm just very grateful that we never had sex. And because any part of my body she would touch after this experience was on fire, and I had to
Mhm.
energetically remove any part her hands had been. And it's harder with womb trauma and
Mhm.
stuff like that. When you have sex, it's an energetic exchange. You're giving that person your fears, your sadness, your traumas. And she did have a lot of childhood trauma. The thing with a narcissist is they're lying so much all the time about everything that the only time I could tell when she would actually tell the truth is if she would tell me a story 3 times and not change any details,
Yeah.
and it was consistent. That's how I knew she wasn't lying. Um, so, she had a lot of trauma with her mom. Her mom locked her in a bathroom when she was younger and slid under lettuce under the door and would play her favorite movie and eat her favorite fast food. And she told me that story 3 times. So I was like, okay, check, verified. But then she's telling me that at the facility we were at, the CNA is taking pictures of her while she's in the shower, and the CNA cornered her in the hallway and made her listen to a 4-hour rape fantasy. She never brought any of those things up again, so I knew they were lies.
Yeah, but, like, think of
That
the
was a very
obscurity of what she's saying, though. It's like, what? What? Like, what the hell is going on? Like, I mean, it's like the things that she's inventing right there alone are just like red flags. It's like, wait, what? Like, you're accusing people of doing these horrendous acts, and then it's not really what's going on. It's like, huh?
Yeah, and that's the
Oh my
problem
god.
is now for the actual survivors of rape,
Mhm.
people are less likely to listen to them, be there for them because you have this lady who every day is saying someone's raping her.
Yeah.
And so it's just that crying wolf, and I've been through stuff like that, and I'm an advocate for people that have been molested, raped, and so
Yeah.
it's really disgusting that you throw that
You
around
know,
when there's
it's
actual
not really
people
shocking to
suffering.
hear that a lot of people that have been sexually assaulted, they always get told the same thing. Nobody listens to them. And this is a common thing that
Yeah.
just keeps being brought up. This season, we had somebody who came on who was sexually assaulted when she was 3, but you don't know, she
Oh,
doesn't know about
yeah.
it. But the story, I don't want to give the full story away, but when the story comes out, it makes more sense after you hear what fully happened. But it was just like, it was so crazy because she didn't know, but then the way she finds out is so interesting though, because, me and another guest a week or two ago, Craig Mayweather, we were talking about a little bit similar to the situation of where it happens, and things like that too. For anybody that hasn't been listening to the show yet, you want to go back and listen to, at this point, Holly Hagg's episode has come out. She was an interesting subject. Like I said, the story went from, hey, introduced her to, okay, let's go on a ride together, Pete, and just I'm talking, we went everywhere. And it was like after 55 minutes, I was like, okay, I gotta tap out. I can't do this anymore. I gotta close this thing out. This is too much. Because I'm an empath and I'm energy sensitive. So I'm
Yeah.
feeling this, like, this whole thing going on, and I'm like, holy shit. to the point where she goes and says that she was actually being made fun of because she was sexually assaulted. So then you hear me go on a 5-minute rant, like,
Oh,
how the fuck? I went off. I was pissed because I'm like, how are you going to sit and make fun of somebody who's been
yeah.
sexually assaulted? Like, that's not something she chose to go through and now has to deal with this horrific
Oh,
event
yeah.
the rest of her life, and all the therapy and all the things go through, and it's just like, it's the same message, though. None of them are heard when they say something. Like, we tell these kids every day to say something to someone, like, hey, someone touching inappropriately. This, she did. And then people are telling her, oh, you're wrong, or and in Holly's case, it was a little different, though, because her situation is she didn't even know, because when she was 3, it cut off and, things like that. There's a whole thing the whole story's there with it, though. When it comes out, though, it's an interesting one to listen to for sure, because at the time I was recording this, it still hasn't come out yet. But it is definitely one to check out for sure, because that story gets really interesting really quick, because, like, she didn't even know. And it's an interesting fact that your brain a lot of times will cut off the memory of those things like that. And you won't remember these things, but you'll remember the moments. Like, when I get to that fear of abandonment triggers for me, it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
go into the moment, but I don't remember the actual moments, that feeling, and I get there, and it's like my first reaction is to push people away, and like, oh, I'm going to get rid of you before you get rid of me kind of thing, because that fear of abandonment kicks in, and now I'm dating somebody with BPD. So it's a real interesting aspect added to my life now, is because now I have to think about the way I approach certain things, because, with her, she doesn't always understand everything. So, like, I have to be very tactical of how I say things, because sometimes I have to explain it to her, because she doesn't understand a lot of this stuff. And a lot of times with her too, there's a constant need of reassurance. She constantly thinks I'm going to leave her. Hey, if you're going to leave me, da da
Mm-hmm.
da. All these things always get brought up, and it's like, for a lot of people, it's discouraging to deal with it. But for me, since I know a lot about it, I am an expert in the field of BPD. Come on, I've done a lot of research. How to better handle these situations. But it's just like, it's just been wild. But this story, let me tell you what, we're at number 3 right now for crazy ass stories. So okay. So when you decided to do this podcast, did you know what you were
Yeah.
doing at this point? Because you're going out there putting this story out there. Someone may recognize the story of what's going on, but they won't recognize the
Mm-hmm.
character names, because obviously you've changed them for medical reasons. You can't, or for legal reasons either way, you couldn't mention their names anyways. So take us up to the leading
Yes.
steps of the podcast, because not everybody thinks, oh, hey, listen, I'm going to start a podcast about my ex who's referencing the movie Lights Out, which, for anybody that hasn't seen this movie, I'm telling you, you all have to go watch it. It is a crazy fucking movie. I'm telling you.
Yes. And go watch the movie before you listen to my podcast, because I am
Okay.
spoiling all of it. All of it.
Yep.
And I tell people that at the beginning, because it's so parallel to the live to Asia. Like, there, the mom is being isolated by Diana, and that's what narcissists do. They isolate you, they make you feel crazy. And what was so interesting is Diana could only come in when Sophie was mentally unwell. When Sophie was taking her pills, when she was going to therapy, Diana couldn't come in. So what Diana would do, and well, I don't want to spoil the movie, but she would do things to make Sophie get back into that depressive state. And that's what narcissists do. They gaslight you. They make you feel like you're nothing. They put you down so they can control you.
Yeah.
My ex would pay me not to exercise, or try to. And I'd be like, what is wrong with you? No, I need to get my body in shape. And it was because it's like, I don't want you getting better. I want you sick, because I can control sick. So just so many. Anyways, so yeah, starting this podcast, it was a lot of, I have a story, and I am so traumatized, and what do I need to do to release this trauma? Well, talking about it, working through with it, all the traumas on pages that I can now burn once I'm done with. So it's that releasing of energy, just get out of my body. I don't want to feel this anymore. And accountability, and just, I'm accountable. This all happened because I couldn't say no. At one
Yeah, but,
point,
like,
she even
again,
said, do you want to back out of the marriage? Oh, yeah, you go.
yeah, but
You're
again,
good.
you're young and you don't know what you're walking into, so you have no idea. And she's a master manipulator, and she's taking advantage of you, and you don't even realize it. You
Yeah.
being in the situation too. I'm being a survivor as well. It's like they gaslight you. Like, you have no idea. Everybody at home probably listening going, well, you just should have just said no. Oh, that's great. Listen, when you want to give me advice, we'll talk about the time I got robbed at gunpoint by 3 people. And then you can tell me what you would have done in that situation. It's like everybody has great advice, but it's not great advice. Like, they don't know. Like, when you're depressed, you're like, oh, cheer up. When your anxiety, oh, just calm down. I'm glad these are all great things for you, and you all think this shit works that way. It doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, the people that understand what you're dealing with versus the people that don't. Now, doing your podcast, so your story, you're just so open about everything about it, because I've been listening to a lot of it, and it's some pretty wild shit. I'm just like, this is some crazy shit. Like, and then when you reached out, I was like, yeah, I gotta have her on the show. Like, I gotta have her for sure. This is interesting, because it's always interesting to meet other podcasters and why they do their shows and things like that too. And this one, like I said, I've been doing for about a year and a half now. And I've had everybody come through this studio. It's crazy. Some of the people I've had on here. There are a few people, if you're ever interested in doing guests, narcissistic related, I've got a few people that I could already link you over to. One of them has a book called Bridesmaid. Mia Hank wrote this book. And when we interviewed, she couldn't have the camera on. And mind you, when I was doing the first season of the show, it's all live. So like, I'm talking to her and she has no camera. But Mia grew up Mia's situation was actually 30 minutes away from where I was in the Houston, Texas area when I was living there, about the same time period. It was crazy because I knew exactly what area she was in, because we were discussing it a little bit off the camera. I said, hey, so what part of Texas are you in? She mentioned it. We were talking about it. And I was like, that's crazy, because I was 30 minutes west of where you were. I know exactly what area you're in, with this whole
Wow.
thing going on. And Mia got married to a covert narcissist, and as we all know, covert narcissists will make themselves look like the greatest person of all. My mom kind of had a lot of those traits as well, but it was interesting because my
Yes.
first girlfriend at the time, we were together 15 years. She was a narcissist heavy. Gaslight you, everything under the sun, did all these other things, ended up cheating and things like that too. And then I found out she was cheating. I found out her friends found out, which I thought didn't really think about it at first, why it was really weird. Like, one of her friends that she was really close with stopped talking to her all of a sudden. And then my friend that I had met when I was working down there, we were good friends for a long time, and she just stopped talking to me. Well, I don't want to be around if she's around, and didn't tell me what happened. Apparently she was hitting on her husband at her sister's baby shower. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Okay.
What?
So then the other friend she was really close with, turns out she knew she was up to no good, and said, listen, if that's what you're going to do to him, I'm just not going to talk to you, because I don't want to be a part of this. And her own friends were turning against her, like, hey,
But
I want no
tell
part of
him.
this shit. Yeah, that's what she said. She
Yeah.
said, you need to tell him that you're just
Ugh.
not happy and just move on. Don't do that to him. He's too good to you. All these other things. And, I
Yeah.
wasn't the greatest person to be around at the time either. So I do accept my fault in it. But that was just like, that was wild to find that out later on. And then I found out later on, they were all telling me, and I talked to the husband, not the wife. The husband told me, he's like, well, she wants no part of this. I'm like, listen, man, I'm just looking for some closure. That's all. I just want to know what it is you knew, and why it is you all just disappeared all of a sudden. And he was like, that's what happened. Jade told her that she didn't want to be a part of this situation, and that
Yeah.
doesn't agree with what you're doing. If this is what you're going to do, I don't want to be a part of this, because that's not right to him. He's at home taking care of your kids, because I was working 45 hours a week
Yeah.
plus, coming home, taking
Right.
care of the
Yep.
kids, and she was never home. So during Hurricane Harvey, she disappeared
Oh.
right before the hurricane hit. So I was left with the kids, and my buddy was staying with me at the time. He needed a place to stay, so I let him crash my couch for a little bit. Him and I took care of the kids while she was off hanging out with the dude she was cheating with over there. And I
That's
didn't
so
know
gross.
like what was going on. She
Oh.
said it was her friend. Her friend needed help and this and that. And I was like, okay, whatever. Are you going to be back in time before the storm hits? Yeah. Oh no, I'm trapped over here now. All of a sudden I can't get there, because there was a lot of flooding around us. So we were locked in where we were for like 5 days at least. It was like 5 days of just flooding around us. So we had to wait for the water to recede and things like that too. And my buddy and I worked in the same place. So me and him were taking care of the kids and things like that. And she had disappeared and all this other crazy shit. And it's insane, man. It really is.
That is just it's so heartbreaking, because these people don't have gratitude. She wasn't
Hmm.
grateful you were taking care of her kids. She expected it. And that's gross. You deserve someone that would say, hey, thanks for taking care of my kids, and I want to be around you, and I want to give back to you. No, there's no giving back.
Yeah, I have that. I have
They'll
that now,
gift
though.
you
I have
with
a really great
little,
support system.
yeah, and we live and we learn, but you didn't deserve that at all.
Yeah. I don't think anybody deserved that, honestly. I just think honesty would have just been the best thing. Just be honest, you're not happy, and we could have just went our own separate ways. We didn't have
Mhm.
to go down that road, but me and her are in a talking mode. We talk now better than we did before, because the kids are mine, so they're my three daughters. So we talk about it. One of mine's actually getting ready to graduate in May, so I'll be up there to see her because they live in the Chicagoland area now, and I'm here and still in Texas where I'm at now. So it's like it's nice. And then me and my ex-wife, we're separating after that wonderful conversation happened. That got real ugly too. Basically told her
Mhm.
I had thoughts about taking my own life, and she told me to make her the 13th reason why. That's fun.
Holy cow, no sympathy. Why, and there's a space, and I'm seeing this a lot in my life, where in 1 week, I had 2 different men that didn't even know each other told me, "I will never be told I'm pretty, and men don't get flowers." And both these men, once again, did not know each other in 1 week, told me, "It is so lonely being a man, and we're on our own." And then you get women that can't even hold a space for a man when he's suicidal, suffering. And I'm seeing that a lot in our society is that,
But yeah, we're only at
and there's a,
177,000 in 2026.
oh,
And
and
that
it's
and we're not
heartbreaking.
sure what percentage. And the percentage of men is probably 80% of those are men. Because every year it's 80% of those numbers are men in the age of 40 to 40. I think it was 35 to 40 range. I know young kids around 10 to 14 are coming up pretty fast too. Their numbers rising really quick too, and they've went up actually in the last few years, which is just insane.
Oh, yeah. And I believe a big part of that is pornography. Pornography makes you feel like crap. You watch that
We
stuff,
don't
you're
I think it's
disconnected
the
from your
internet itself,
body.
honestly, if you think about it like where
Yeah.
we were, like I'm 40, so okay, so when I grew up, we didn't have the internet much. Facebook wasn't even there. We had AOL Online was the closest thing to the internet you had. They say chat rooms, okay? Now these guys have all this information at their fingertips. They have this a way to get bullied in many different ways. You have Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram, all these other places where I'm at. You just see all these things that are happening, and it's just like a lot of it's because these kids are getting bullied, and it's just crazy. My co-host of another show I do, she and I were talking about this. She said that the suicide rates in young kids in her area are really high, and I'm just like, this is insane.
Oh,
Like this is what we're talking about these days. It's like we're not doing anything about these problems. And it's
right. That's
it's
where
it's
I want to
insane. It really
start.
is. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It really is.
absolutely. Like, my biggest thing is right now, if I took that as a sign from God, absolutely. These were unrelated men, and I tell every woman now, go compliment your man today and go send him flowers or do something like that because we're not allowing men to be seen,
Hmm.
and we're not giving them a space to talk about their feelings, right? You said, "I'm not doing good." She's like, "Go kill yourself then," right? So
Hmm.
that's happening a lot in society. Men can't talk with other men because they're like, I hate to say this word, but men say it a lot. "Oh, stop being a pussy," which is disgusting. Why can't we be like, "Man, I'm so sorry. I'm here for you, man. Like, if you want to talk, I was just telling my buddy, if I was a man and I got broken up with, I would probably have to go and go crash my car or burn down a building or something because no woman would listen to me because
Hmm.
women are going to call me weak and then my guys are going to call me a pussy. So for me to go get out those feelings of being broken up with or sad, I got to go do something crazy. Like, and I recognize that as a woman, I am given space by my girlfriends, my mom, people in my life. But are we doing that for men? Not really. We're not.
No, that's
And
that's
we
a really
need to.
good point. It
It
is.
needs to happen.
And it does. It really does. We need to stop demonizing men for having feelings and having these thoughts. And
Yes.
luckily I have a good support system of friends and things like that. My girlfriend Danny is really supportive of everything I do and stuff like that too, and things like that. So it gets really interesting though, because you run into a lot of these people that they feel like they're not being heard. And then, I just had a good friend, Dr. Sheena, said that her husband just lost his friend, a combat vet. So I'm not sure if it was suicide related or not. I'm still waiting on all the details. But it's just like it's crazy though. The things that you hear. And then what was that? The whole Men's Mental Health Month thing, where that lady did that video that just sparked out so much outrage, and people are just shocked. It's like, what are you shocked about? Like, this woman's over here making fun of people's mental health. It doesn't even
Oh
have to be men. What,
gosh.
whatever. It's like you're doing these things, and then her whole family members are like, "Well, I'm sorry that she did this." It's like, yeah, I get that, but at the same time, it's like, now everybody's having to deal with the aftermath of what she's doing, and then the numbers keep going up, and it's like, you
Oh
see
yeah.
like all these crazy things. I think the UFC fighter, I can't remember what his name is. He's like, men kill themselves every single day, and no one talks about it. He goes, but it's funny though, but they'll talk about
Yes.
everything else. It's the craziest thing ever.
Yes.
It's like, and it's a push now is more than ever. When I started this show, it was, that was a statistic that scared the hell out of me. It was like, we did an episode on another podcast I did prior to this one, and we had talked about that, we were looking at the numbers, and the numbers were just scary. It's like, dude, then why are we not talking about this more? And then I'm like that argument, oh, we're talking about it, da da da. Okay, so then why does the number keep going up then? If we're talking about these things, we're worried about these things, we're worried about asking questions about people that we see in these, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just insanity. Like, we're not talking about it enough, honestly. Like, you see these videos where
We're
people are
not.
putting in we were just having a group conversation yesterday, in fact, about this. Jimmy from Uncle Jimmy's podcast, Maddie, my co-host from Voice of the Voiceless, and I, and Marin Acosta, host of the Unapologetic Mayor and the Cornbread Chronicles. We all got together and we had this conversation. We were talking about this, and we had said that it's interesting that's what happens. So it's like they say we're talking about these things, but then we're not. Like, it's like, okay, even them to afford their insurance and stuff, their medications. This is crazy. Like, we can't even afford those these days. Like, they're taking medications that are like $3,500 a piece. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the
It's
system's so broken. It's
disgusting.
like, it is. It really
Yeah,
is.
it is.
It's scary that these younger girls see these other girls doing these things, and the internet's could be a plus or minus kind of thing for people. Because think about it, like, all these things we're posting, these younger kids are seeing. What are we teaching them these days? That it's okay to demonize people for having feelings and dealing with these issues, and all these other kind of things like that. And then more people talking about it. But then when you talk about it at the same time, you get demonized about talking about it. Oh, go to the crazy house. You're crazy. Cheer up. All these
Yeah,
stupid ass things get said, and it's disgusting. It really is.
it is disgusting. And it's just like, why, I went to a seminar a few weeks ago, and it was called I Love You Bro Project. And it was this big Samoan man in Utah who holds men's group meetings for free or all around Utah, so they can go and just cry. And it's a safe place for men to talk. And the statistic, because he has all his people take surveys, and the statistic was, if you're feeling suicidal, what percentage can turn to their wife? 18%.
That's scary. And these are supposed to be your
That's
partners. Think about it. Think about
horrible.
it. These are the people. These are your partner. You should be able to come and talk to them about these things. And only 18% of
Mhm.
them can actually come and talk to them. It's the statistic there is just insane.
That says it all. What are we, you know, doing as a society, as women, and like, I support the women's right movement, absolutely. Like, I'm definitely feminist, but I also want to
Yeah.
be a voice for men too, for everybody. I love everyone. So,
Yeah.
what are we doing as women to not give a safe space for him to say, "Hey, I'm feeling suicidal right now. I'm not doing okay right now. Can I talk to you?" Um and so that's what he says, is a lot of women are like, "Hey, can he come talk to you about his feelings?" He's like, "You need to learn how to make a safe space for him to talk to you. Because why can't he talk to you about that?"
Exactly.
And that's something to think about.
That's what me and
And
Danny have, though. That's what works so great for us, though, is that we have that
yeah,
space
good.
where we could talk about things like that, even though some things may upset her or she might understand them. It's a complete open space, and it goes both ways for her. She'll tell me how she's feeling. I'll tell her how I'm feeling. We're not in the same state yet, but she's talking about moving to Texas eventually with me. So that's the plan. But it's like, it's nice because we can talk about anything. It's like, if I'm having a rough day, and things, she'll notice like different patterns and things like that too, that I go through, and stuff like that too. But I open my DMs to a lot of people. I've had a few people contact me and tell me they're considering suicide. I've had to use 988 several times.
Right.
Addie actually this week had admitted that she had to call 980 as well, and things like that too. And it's just like, it's
Yeah.
just crazy, man, that this, But you're right though. It's like, but that number still haunts me. It's like 18% of this group out of 100% of those
18%.
people that are there, 82% of them can't say anything to anybody. And it's like, what about those 82%? What if they all committed suicide? Think about it. That's the 80% right there of men every year that are killing themselves because they don't have a space to go to, or there's nobody to listen to them, or they feel like they're not being heard and
Yeah,
things like that too. And it's insanity.
it is. It's an epidemic. And so that's why I'm telling women right now, we need to, and I believe a lot of this craziness on the internet right now with like the manosphere, if you heard about that on Netflix. A lot of these guys just, they say they love women, but they're like, women need to be controlled. Women don't know what they want. Women shouldn't
Yeah, see, I
vote,
don't agree with that whole thing.
just gross things.
Yeah, no.
No, I don't agree with any of that.
Yeah.
That's what, and I know there's some childhood trauma there. I also believe it comes from feeling utterly alone and unseen, and they're just mad, and it's just projecting, and then B, not ever having that space by a woman to talk about their feelings and to feel safe, and so it's just coming out. And I'm seeing that, like, I just watched The Manosphere on Netflix, and it was horrific because there's all these young boys, and there's this guy walking, and he's like, women shouldn't vote, just all these nasty things, and these boys are so excited to see him. And this is our growing society, and it was really hard for me to see because I was just like, when I have kids, I don't want my son to look up to someone like that. I want
Yeah.
him to look up to, a good man with integrity who encourages women to, become architects and astronauts and all those things, and not to vote, and just weird. It was hard to watch on Netflix, but
I'll have to
I
watch
do
it. I didn't
believe
watch it. I wa
there's yeah.
You do believe, sorry, I cut you off in your thought.
Oh, you're fine. You kind of got cut off. Yeah, I do believe there is some kind of trauma with women, and it's not okay what they're doing. They're accountable. Absolutely. And I do believe some of that could stem from not being given a space to feel safe, not feeling seen, like all these guys I've been talking to are like, yeah, you're invisible if you're a man.
Yeah,
You're
isn't that
completely
scary?
invisible.
That's scary though.
And
These are guys
so,
that are telling you they're invisible because they feel invisible. And the gentleman in
mhm,
Utah doing all those get-togethers and things like that too, and it's just crazy. It just boils my blood because it's like, dude, everybody's like, oh, we're talking about mental health more. Okay, well, apparently not, because according to this statistic, 82% of these guys can't talk about it. So where are they going to go to talk about it? Nowhere, because there's no space provided for them. And
mhm,
it's the scary thing about it. It's just like, and then it's like you expect us to do so much, and then it's like the archaic thinking of, oh, well, the man should be the breadwinner, when it's not like that anymore. The society's not like that anymore. We're not living in that era anymore, you know, and it's a lot of the old world thinking of that kind of thing like that. Or like that guy said, you said that one guy, he's walking on the street telling these kids women shouldn't have rights. And this is like,
yeah,
oh God, stop. Please stop. It's just
yeah,
horrible.
it's
And
just,
it goes both ways.
yeah, it does. And I tell women too, you need to stop saying you hate men and that they're monsters, because when someone believes they're a monster, they become one. We're not giving them a chance to prove they can be an amazing, loyal, woman supporting man, because a lot of women are just like, I hate men, they're monsters. Well, then you're not even giving someone that chance. And I do believe in the manosphere, a lot of these guys are just like, oh, you think I'm a monster? Okay, I can be a monster. We got to
Yeah.
stop saying that. Everyone is a
No, I
human
agree.
being that has potential and growth and love. And so you're not a monster just because of your gender.
Yeah,
I
but
really
a lot
don't
of there's
like,
a I
yeah.
think a lot of the bad behavior gets put out there, and that's what you run into. A lot of these women, like Danny's history of men was just terrible. Like all these guys she's been with before me are all just horrible. Then all her friends call me the green flag because I don't do the same things that all these other guys do. Like I don't try and control her. I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like she needs space, you take that space. You're good. Well, hey, listen, I need a little time to myself. Okay, take that time. I'm here if you need me. You know where to find me. And it's so weird because she's like, I don't know what to do with nice, is what she used to say in the beginning. She's like, what do I do with nice? I don't know what do you
Mhm.
do with nice. Like, you take it and you run with it because you have it now. You're not having to deal with the same bullshit you dealt with on a daily basis. Like, and she told me she used to fight some of her dudes too. She had to fight some of these guys and all this
Oh my
crazy stuff
gosh.
she used to tell me. And I'm just like, huh? Like, what? Like, I don't do any of that shit. No,
Yeah.
man, I'm good. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's the same thing with men too. It's like, and it's the same thing with women too, because they're like, oh, well, she's crazy. But is she really crazy though? That's my question though. It's like, is she though? Or did something cause her to get
Mm.
upset to be that way? And now you're portraying it like that because, she's just reacting to something she's been dealing with, And like you said, you had those two guys that told you those things. And it's just like, I don't
Yeah.
get it. I don't get
1
why
week.
we have to do these. That's what I'm saying. It's just weird. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what? You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. Like I just don't get it. I don't know why we all can't we need to stop brainwashing these kids to think that this shit's okay. Because what are we teaching these young kids by
Yeah.
posting this crap online? Or it's the guy that I met the other day. He was telling me that if you're depressed, go back to when you're 18. I'm like, but what if I hated myself when I was 18? I'm like, that's the worst advice you
Right.
could give somebody ever. It's like I had to space myself, and then he got upset when I spaced myself. I'm like, dude, I can't be a part of that. I don't agree with anything you're saying. You have no factual base to what you're saying. You're out there selling snake oil to people, and you're telling them this crazy notion that next thing you know, you're going to start telling
Mhm.
people, hey, listen, if you're depressed, just cheer up. And that's not the way, man. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. It's just
No,
like
it
I've
doesn't.
sat here recorded 300 of these episodes, and let me tell you that I've heard some wild statements being made here. Okay. So there's one. I'm going to tell you the story about this woman that came in my studio. I didn't use the interview because I just couldn't. I absolutely couldn't do it
Okay.
because 20 minutes into this interview, she started going, hey, you don't chop enough wood, so you're not a man. I'm like,
Oh my
what?
gosh.
Like we were having a
What does
great
that even mean?
conversation and all
What
of a sudden it went to that. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm like,
We need
I
to
can't use this. I was
stop.
telling people, this is like, bro,
Yeah. Okay.
it gets
What
better,
I
Sage. It gets better. Okay.
like
So
that's what
there's
I'm
a guy
saying
I had
is
sitting across from me.
yeah.
I had a guy sitting across from me real quick. All right. Okay. He literally said 15 minutes into this interview that he had thought about killing himself that morning. And we were live on YouTube, mind you. We're live. This is a live interview that we are conducting as this conversation's happening. He's talking to me, and you can tell he's a little upset about something. So he mentions that his friend had taken his own life in December. And he said, yeah,
Oh,
I'm still a little
that's so
broken up
sad.
about it. And I was like, and he said, well, I was sitting here this morning. I had the gun in my hand. I was thinking about I was thinking about killing myself this morning. I was at the edge of the bed. And he's 15 minutes in this interview. He's describing this. And I'm just like, oh
Oh,
my God, this is not happening. This is not happening. We are live on the show. We're doing this, a live show, and we're on YouTube and a couple other places. And I'm like, oh God, we're going to get banned. This is going to be it. This is going to be the conversation gets us banned. And we're midway through, halfway through season 1. We're not even through like the beginning of the year. This is the first interview of the year. And I'm just like, oh my God, here we go. And I knew it, we get to one of these conversations, but I didn't think it'd happen like that. He just came out of left field. He said, hey man, can I tell you something? And he started telling me about it. And he was a lot better after he got it off his chest, but it was just like, it was so shocking. I had to have somebody go back and listen. I say, listen, do me a favor. Can you go back and listen to this interview and tell me that this is not what he just said? And somebody was listening. He goes,
mhm.
oh yeah, he said it, dude. He came back to it. In fact, he goes and circles back to it. And I'm just like, oh my
Whoa.
God, dude. And it was
Yeah.
my first experience with that conversation of just that level of kind of like craziness that had happened on the show. And it was the number one conversation, craziest moment in the show until this season's opener. That one now took the cake. Like that conversation got wild. Like I didn't see the
Yeah.
part coming because she goes like, I went to the basement, I drank bleach, and I cut my wrists. And her brother found her bleeding to death in the basement. And I'm like, wait, what? What? Like you hear me just like go, what? And I'm just like, oh my God, what? And I didn't know that. This is a person that I interact with on TikTok a lot because, she's in my agency. So I was like, she's like, hey, I got a story. I'd like to come share my story. Little did I, that's not even the craziest parts of the story. That's where it just went, whoa, holy shit. She had a whole list of
Right.
things that
Right.
happened beforehand, and, like being in this space, I just like I could tell you right now that every time I hit record, I'm not as shocked by anything I hear going at at this point. Like literally, these conversations could go anywhere, anytime, any place. There was a few suicide prevention or suicide awareness videos we had done. One girl, one lady is
That's
actually
good.
the mother of a couple kids. she had told us about the time that she had to tell her kids their dad took his own life and explained it to them in the colors, like dad saw black, da 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 da, and like having to explain it to two kids that are like 10 and 7 had to be the hardest
Right.
conversation ever, but the most honest conversation you'll ever have with these kids. So, and then there was the girl that told us that she was telling us from the perspective, but we didn't know that she was the one that tried to commit suicide, though. So the conversation goes is she said that the dude was freaking out, abusing her, then left and came back. And that's all you could tell from her point of view. Okay. So at this point, she hasn't revealed what had happened. Okay. So what happened is that she took a gun to her head, pulled the trigger, missed her brain, and was laying
Oh.
there bleeding. And the guy, the abuser was freaking out. But we didn't know that from this perspective at the interview when this happened. She was talking to us, and then she mentioned what had happened, and he was freaking out because she had shot herself but didn't kill herself. And she was sitting there in a state of like delusion. She didn't know what was going on. She just knew something had happened, and he was freaking out. And that's what it was, that she had
Yeah.
taken a gun and shot herself, things like that. And then I was like, holy crap. Like, this story was intense. I was like, dude, what is going on? This is wild. Like, I had a feeling this is where it was leading to. But, then we got to that point and I was just like, holy shit, I'm not even shocked because I'm like, I already had a feeling, and you'll learn. I learned in doing these interviews and things that you learn like different dialogue people use. So like you can tell a lot of people's situations based on the things they'll say to you, like little words they say, the way they present things to you, the way they mention things, the way they stop
Can I ask
talking about
what?
certain parts. Like, okay, so think
Yeah.
about it. Like, people are sexually assaulted. A lot of them will say certain dialogue in a certain context of like, well, I had something happen when I was younger, and then they kept telling, no one listened to
Okay.
me. Those
Yeah.
things start getting said. So like, you'll know those things, but instinctively I'll know what's going on. Most other conversations, sometimes it's just a sense I get because I'm really good at reading energy. So like I can read people's energy when they start talking about certain things. So it's hard to pinpoint a lot of them, but certain conversations, you'll know the direction they're going based on what it is. Well, I was assaulted and things like that. He did some things to me or
Mhm.
something, like they'll hint at things, but they won't say what they are. And I stop the conversation for that point. I'm like, okay, I already know what's going on, but instinctively I'll know what it is. And it's hard to tell sometimes to people what it is unless you really know what to look for. Like you listen for the tone of the voice they're using, the things they're saying. And it's just like this sense of energy I get from them, like reading their energy in the room. Like you can read what they're thinking at the time. A lot of times, based on the things they'll say and they'll hint at things. And it's from doing the show. Like I said, I've done enough of these interviews and things. I start to look for different things. So like every time I'm talking to a lot of people, I'm sitting there pinpointing a lot of things about them ahead of time. In my head, I'm making the guesses ahead of time. Like, okay, I wonder how close to this I am. And 99% of the time, I'm actually very accurate at it. At this point, I've been very close to a lot of times telling a lot of people, things, and it's interesting to find out because I've been energy sensitive for a while now, and I didn't know that's what this sensation was that I'd had, and things like that too. But it was just an interesting conversation to have, needless to say.
That is very interesting. Completely agree. Like you can there are certain types of body language and
Mhm.
definitely things unsaid that you can tell. Yeah. And
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like you
I'm
could piece
actually
together a
talking to a lot of
conversation.
people. Yeah. 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 And I'm actually talking to a lot of people right now about if you are an empath, protecting your energy. So you got to have energetic boundaries because you are taking on these people's energy, right? And then you feel like crap afterwards.
Mhm.
So before meeting with anyone, I would set an intention. I'm not going to be taking on this person's energy. I'm going to hold the space for them. I'm going to love them. They're going to feel my love, but their energy is their own, and I'm feeling my own. And I'm going to have an energetic bubble around me blocking that. Because if not, you do take on their energy.
Yeah.
Especially if you can touch them, you can take away their pain. You have that ability. So if you touch someone with your left hand, you need to make sure that energy in your mind's eye is immediately going out your elbow. Because you're taking away someone's pain. You have that ability. It's a beautiful thing. But it's those boundaries and that hygiene, or go wash your hands with cold water. So I'm telling empaths this because, like with narcissists, they know you're an empath and they're going to pump that divine energy out of you quick. They don't have the light. They've rejected the light. They live in the dark. So they have to go and steal it from other people. And so that's why you feel drained when you're done with a narcissist, because they've pumped that divine energy out of you. So having those boundaries, this person will not be stealing my energy today. I will hold space for them, love them. Yeah. So I've been working on that with empaths for sure. And being able to say no, which took me forever. I had to look in the mirror, say no 50 times a day. I don't want to do that, just to reclaim my power. Because sometimes people would, all the time, people would push me into doing something I didn't want to do. So now I'm saying, no, I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable with that. Or yes, I do want to do that. And I will have an allotted hour to do that. Setting those boundaries to protect yourself, because you have a gift and it's a beautiful thing. And
I learned early on about how to protect myself from a couple friends I had met that are energy healers and things like that. And it was funny because every time I'd meet one, it'd be two others right afterwards. The interviews right after it, all energy. And it was so funny because it's like boom, boom, boom. They all come in pairs and things like that too. So, it was an interesting thing as well, because a lot of them were saying the same thing, because I did feel it at first. Now I do so many of them. I've gotten better at it. So I know how to better help myself. Like Monday, I'm been running the gauntlet, man. I think it's been a while since I've done it though. I think one time I did 6 interviews in a row. Like I was pumping these things out left and right, which way, other which way. In the fun fact, people didn't know. Like, I mean, it sounds fucked up when I say the fun fact, but the fact is that the room I was in the first season, it was the only room. I never left that room, hardly ever. I was in such a bad depressed mode, but I take on their energy, and then afterwards I'd just be dwelling in my own self-pity and things like that. And it's just like I'd never leave the room. Never step. I go to the room to get something and come back. And I spent a lot of my time in that side room by myself in the darkness alone, because it was so dark, and I work overnight. So like I was doing nights and everything. I'm coming home recording the show 5 days a week. A lot of the episodes, like I said, in the first season were all live interviews. So you can see all the live interviews I've done with all these different people, and things like that too, and stuff like that. But it was just like a lot of people didn't know that's how bad I struggled. And, and it was just like when I told people, whew, man, the look on their face, like, well, I'd never even know, because I didn't want you to know. That's the thing. I didn't want you to know how bad I was struggling, because like I get when people are like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. And it's like, to me, I just don't want to hear that. That's just my preference. Now, this is not everybody, don't we take this as any, but you know what I mean? It's just crazy, and things like that. And then had I known how fast this show is taken off, it's crazy though. As much as I like I said, I'm almost out to July booking people now. Mind you, that's 3 to 4 people a day I'm talking to on Mondays and Tuesdays and things. Then I'm recording a side project, and then Wednesdays I get together with a few other podcasters, and we just talk about mental health in general. Jimmy being the host of Uncle Jimmy's podcast, my friend Maddie. A lot of times we have a third person who usually joins us. So, things like that too. And we invite other people to come join us, things like that. And we'll get together. And then I'll do guest spots on their shows. Like tomorrow I'm doing one with, I don't even remember what the hell it's called now. That's trauma or something like that. I don't even remember half of these I get into. Like, the funny story is like, I forgot I signed up for some of these too. I told my buddy Jimmy that the other day too. I was like, Jimmy, I forgot I signed up for your podcast, man. Just so you know, until you messaged me the day before saying, hey, are we still out doing this thing?
I totally get that.
It's funny though, but I've met so many cool friends that way. Like my friend Melissa hosts the Emotionally Unavailable podcast. I forgot I signed up for her show, and I was like, oh, damn, I forgot. And then she messaged me. I was like, oh, that's right. I did sign up for this thing. All right, let's go do this. Little I know what conversation we were going to have and things like that too. So, it's been fun though. So my question though to you is though, after this podcast is done, are you going to do something else now that you've scratched that itch? Are you planning on maybe doing some interviewing on your own, or talking to people, or even doing like something energy based for empaths and things like that? Maybe doing like a weekly course for them or something.
I would love to. In my podcast, I do talk about how to start setting boundaries, because everyone's like, just set boundaries, just say no. And it's not that easy. It's not. Especially when you've been told your whole life to be a good girl, just do what you're told, just, and so I do have steps, and I talk about it in my 3rd episode that's coming out soon, that to start saying no, just get used to saying that word in the mirror. Just start saying no in the mirror, and then start setting little boundaries. And with adults, it's scary. So I tell them start with children.
Yeah.
because children love to just touch you and inappropriately or whatever. And that happens with me literally every time I'm with a child. So before I would laugh or whatever, but now I'm really working on saying, I can't, do not touch me there. Please don't touch me there. That is a boundary. So just setting those little energetic boundaries, starting somewhere with anyone, and then slowly working your way up to adults. I would love to have maybe a course about that, and definitely protecting your energy as an empath. And I have been collaborating with some other podcasters about just having guests and people that have also survived narcissistic abuse, and showing you can still have a beautiful life
Sign me up.
after narcissistic abuse. Absolutely.
Sign me up. I'm there. You just
Okay,
have to tell me
deal.
when and where.
I'll have you on my
promise
show.
I'll forget about the day, but I'll be there.
Okay, I'll send you 15 reminders.
If you're interested in guests, I do have some people that fall in that category. We had a really great author that wrote a book on how to deal with narcissists. C.F. Mickey was her name, but she was really great. She's a grandmother and things like that too, and she had dealt with her husband who was a narcissist, and she had wrote a whole book about it and stuff like that. And I met her through one of these. I did a national publicity summit the first time around. I'd done one in October during the first season of the show. I got reached out to, so I met her there, and I've met a lot of really cool people. So yeah, if you're interested in hosting guests, definitely it'd be something kind of cool to see, and there's another woman, I don't know what she's up to, but she runs a podcast called You Have the Power. I'll have to see if she's up to do an interview, but she has an interesting story too about narcissism as well. Like she was doing hers for a little bit, and I think she had to stop due to financial reasons and things like that too, but she was really interesting too. So I'll have to see what she's up to and stuff like that. But yeah, it sounds like a pretty exciting time. So like, how many episodes are we planning for this show? The current one now, like how many pieces of the story do we have?
Yeah. Oh, I still have, let's see. I'm barely getting to the part where we decided to go down to St. George, which is where she held me emotionally captive, and I couldn't leave and go back. So we're on the precipice of that on episode 3 right now. So that's also interesting because she decided to pass out, and she told these doctors all these things. And so this is when we were in Vegas, and because St. George and Vegas are very close. They're about an hour away.
Mhm.
St. George is southern Utah. Vegas is like 2 hours away. So we were down on vacay in St. George, and she's like, let's go to Vegas for a night because it's so close. So we did, and then she decided to pass out, and I just don't think she wanted to leave Vegas. So but she was just sitting there. She's like, I can't get up. And I'm like, what are you it was just such an act all the time. Like, I can't get up. So I was in Vegas, and I tried to go home, and she said, if you go home, I'm going to die, and you're going to feel like shit, Saige. I'm going to die in my sleep, and you just left a dying girl. And it was just that emotional lock and key she had in my brain. Like, yeah, I could have left, but what if she died and I just abandoned her? And just, so because I needed to go back to work, I had a pizza job, I was a manager, and I had an emotional breakdown. And I ended up texting my manager, I have no way how I'm going to leave Vegas. I don't even know how I'm going to get home because I am stuck with this person that won't let me leave. And she had grandparents, she had support and stuff, but just that control. And so the craziest part is she had gone to the hospital, and then in Vegas, then transferred to another hospital to stay there longer. And within 2 days of her being in this second hospital, she had a Tinder profile, and it said, literally the text she sent me, it was like, the text she sent me was her Tinder bio. I'm dying. I want someone to be with me before I pass away. Please love me,
But Tinder?
And this guy had showed up, and on Tinder. He showed up, brought her flowers, and the second day he proposed to her.
What the fuck?
So that,
Okay.
and I was grateful for
What
him.
the hell, Sage? Sage's just like, hey, it's your problem now, bro. Have fun with this. Oh my god, I'm looking forward to this third episode now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but
oh hell no, I gotta hear
it
this.
was,
This shit's gonna be
yeah.
wild. Like, I'm looking forward to this. Oh, but Sage, we're at the part of the interview. I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. I don't know if you've ever watched any of the interviews, so you may know the question is about to come to you. So my question to you is, if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be? She's, and for all you not watching the video version of this, she's literally thinking about this one really hard. I told you,
What
a great
came to my
question.
head was the Reba song, I'm a Survivor. That's where my head goes,
That's good though. I mean,
is
that's
I'm a
Reba's the
survivor.
first entry into this question. As after I've been asking this for people, I actually bought it from a friend of mine. She has a podcast called "The Shit That Goes on Her Head," and she asked me about it, and I broke it down in several different ways. But because I broke it down as my anxiety song and then my depression song. So my anxiety song at the time, fuck, what did I even say? I don't remember my original one. My new one is now "Artificial Suicide" by Bad Omens, and then my suicide song or my depression song was. Turn the light on, leave the dark. Talk about the dark. Leave the light on by Papa Roach, and a different kind of pain by Cold were my 2 for that one. But it was interesting because it's because we all listen to music anyways. You think about it, music is big enriched in our lives now. We all have that one song that we can
Yeah.
relate to and things like that as well. So it's always a fun question to ask people near the end of these interviews. So, like, the next one for you, and the reason I started this podcast is that if you could break the stigma about mental health. Now, when I ask you this question, you could say whatever you want. If it's something that pisses you off, something you wish people would stop doing, what would you say that one thing would be? And you can reillustrate your point to women that they need to hold space for men if you like to. It doesn't matter. This is your answer, however you want to answer it.
Yeah, that's a
She's
what
really
comes to
thinking
my
about this one
mind
too.
is when people hear about a sex addiction,
Mm-hmm.
they think you're gonna go have sex with them, or they think that's a great addiction to have. And for people who say that, please stop it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
horrible addiction, and you're using people to be your fix. And once you wake up out of your addiction and you realize what you've done, it's a horrible feeling. And you try to go and apologize to all these people. So no, it's not a great addiction to have. And if someone tells you they have a sex addiction, they're not trying to have sex with you, because
That's a
that
terrible
happens
addiction
all the
to have.
time. And it's really disgusting when people do that.
It is, and there's a lot that goes with it. We've covered that early on, porn addictions and things like that. Me and another guy named Josh, we had a whole conversation about it, and it's a scary thing to get into, because once you get into it, it's no longer about the fact of what's going on. And the weirder shit they get into as it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, it just gets wilder. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, Sage,
Yep.
thank you so much
See,
for coming on the
yep.
show and hanging out with me today.
Yeah.
Before we
Thanks for
start
having
signing
me.
off, of course, listen, before we're signing off, where can everybody find you? Tell them where the podcasts are. Are there any social medias that you're using currently that people can reach out to you on? Let them know where to find you.
Yeah, it's exclusively on Spotify for the time being. You're more than welcome to reach out to me on Instagram if you want to talk about any of these things. I would love to talk to you, get into things. My Instagram is Saige, SAIGE_W. And I would love to, anything you have, please come talk to me. I'd love to talk about it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sage. Appreciate you coming to me, guys, on the show today. Do you have any last words for everybody before we sign off?
Yeah, like, men, you are loved. Women, you are loved. Women, let's make space for men to feel loved.
I love it. Thank you so much, guys.
'Cause
And with
they
that
just
being
don't.
said, we're going to wrap up.
Yeah.
Right? Tell them, Sage. Tell them in the back. They didn't hear you. Tell them, because they just don't.
Men don't feel loved or seen.
Exactly.
And that's, that could be a cause of where a lot of these problems are coming from. For
Definitely.
sure.
And with that being
Yeah.
said, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. Guys, you know where to find me on Pete vs. Anxiety? On Spotify, all the way down to Pandora Radio. I'm on Spotify. I'm on X, all the way down to TikTok. And as always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?